Some stories don't start with a decision. They start with a loss, a job, a home, a piece of stability. In Colorado, more and more individuals are finding themselves without a place to return to each night. They pitch tents by rivers, sleep behind libraries, or rest on benches at bus terminals. Some are by themselves, some with children, but all are doing what they can to survive.
I've had 2 or 3 men one night that were circling my tent, and I know that they were men because I could hear them talking and stuff like that. And they were circling my tent, trying to figure out how to get me out, and they were, pulling on my tent and everything else. I've slept with knives. I've put a lock on the inside of my tent, locked myself in, because I figured they have to come through that tent to get me.
Throughout the state, homelessness has spread beyond just the downtown areas. It's reached small towns, suburbs, and even the outskirts of mountain trails. You don't have to search very hard to see it. The truth is, it's already there, quiet, ever-present, and expanding. In this video, we'll take a deeper dive into homelessness in Colorado. We'll explore the lives of those living it, the obstacles they face, and the systems that are trying to keep up. Not through statistics alone, but through the stories, locations, and everyday moments that paint a clearer picture. Because behind every tent or sleeping bag, there's a person. And every person has a story about how they ended up where they are. The public perspective on homelessness in Colorado. In Colorado, as in many parts of the nation, homelessness is more than just a condition. It's a conversation. And it's one that often divides the public in uneasy ways. For some, seeing a homeless person on a Denver street serves as a moment of reflection, a jolt to their conscience. For others, it becomes a flashpoint for frustration, a sign that something is going wrong, or worse, being allowed to spiral beyond control. Public opinion on homelessness in Colorado today spans a wide, often contradictory spectrum. On one side are those who view unhoused individuals as victims of unfortunate circumstances, people who have been priced out of the housing market, failed by a crumbling mental health system, or simply dealt a bad hand by life. These voices speak of compassion, responsibility, and the need for collective care. They often highlight structural factors, such as the lack of affordable housing, low wages, racial disparities, and underfunded healthcare, all contributing to the growing population living on the streets.
It's backing us into a corner and saying, what do we do?
But on the other side is a very different perspective. A portion of Colorado's residents have grown frustrated. Some see the tents, the visible drug use, and the expanding encampments as threats to public safety, businesses, and cleanliness. The phrase quality of life frequently appears in these discussions, not for those sleeping outdoors, but for the residents who pass by, the shop owners whose front doors are blocked, and the families who no longer feel secure in local parks. In city council meetings and online forums, you'll find passionate debates where homelessness is no longer just a social issue, but has become a nuisance, even a menace. So, where do we draw the line between empathy and expectations? How do we balance human dignity with urban order? These are the questions Colorado has been grappling with for years. And frankly, I find myself caught between these two currents. I believe people have the right to feel safe in their neighborhoods. But I also believe a society's character is revealed in how it treats its most vulnerable. We cannot criminalize poverty and call it compassion. Whether people in Colorado respond with sympathy or anger, one thing is clear. Homelessness has grown too large, too visible, and too ingrained in the state's landscape to be ignored. As more citizens realize that losing a job, an apartment, or a support system could place anyone on the edge, the idea of homelessness in America begins to feel less like a statistic and more like a shadow that could fall on any one of us.
Like when we help each other out, it's like why like get mad at us for like sleeping at a spot, or if we're not hurting anybody or anything, not using no substance or nothing like that.
The growing homelessness crisis in Colorado. To fully grasp the extent of homelessness in Colorado, it's essential to look beyond surface-level impressions and focus on the statistics and the lives that lie behind them. As of January 2023, according to the annual point-in-time count conducted by the Metro Denver Homeless Initiative, over 9,065 individuals were experiencing homelessness across the state. This figure encompasses both sheltered and unsheltered people, but the actual number may be far higher due to underreporting, especially among those living in vehicles or couch surfing. Among the most heavily impacted areas, Denver County is home to nearly 4,000 homeless individuals, making up over 40% of the state's total. The downtown area has seen a marked increase in visible encampments, particularly around Civic Center Park and Five Points. Meanwhile, Colorado Springs, the state's second-largest city, has experienced a 33% rise in unsheltered homelessness over the past 3 years, driven by a lack of transitional housing and overcrowded shelters. Aurora, often overlooked in statewide conversations, is quietly emerging as a hotspot for tent cities along creeks, near light rail stations, and in the periphery of public parks. While many might assume that homelessness is confined to major metropolitan areas, the crisis in Colorado is increasingly reaching suburban and even rural counties. In towns like Boulder and Fort Collins, a shortage of affordable housing and rising eviction rates are displacing more residents. Even smaller mountain towns like Durango are feeling the effects, with local officials reporting an increase in vehicle dwellers and families relying on short-term motel accommodations. So what's fueling this statewide surge? It's not just the absence of housing. It's a perfect storm of high rent, stagnant wages, mental health gaps, and a system that tends to react more than prevent. What's even more concerning is that these numbers have remained stubbornly high, despite the infusion of hundreds of millions of dollars into intervention programs. How many people need to live in tents and underpasses before a city acknowledges that the problem is structural? How long can we rely on temporary solutions while the long-term crisis deepens? Colorado's homelessness problem is not a local anomaly. It mirrors a broader national trend, one that increasingly shapes the landscape of homelessness in America. And if these numbers continue to climb, the question won't just be how to support those on the streets, but whether we're ready for how quickly anyone could end up joining them. Fentanyl and legal cannabis, a dangerous intersection in Colorado. In recent years, Colorado has found itself at the crossroads of two intersecting public health crises: a rise in fentanyl-related overdoses and the unexpected consequences of legal marijuana. While the state was once lauded for its progressive stance on cannabis reform, the reality today is far more complicated and increasingly hazardous, especially for its homeless population. Fentanyl, a synthetic opioid approximately 50 times stronger than heroin, has become the leading cause of overdose deaths across Colorado. According to the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment, the state recorded over 1,200 opioid-related deaths in 2023, with fentanyl responsible for more than 70% of those fatalities. For homeless individuals, these numbers are even more devastating. Emergency response teams in Denver report administering naloxone, an overdose reversing drug, dozens of times a week, often in encampments or abandoned buildings. But what role does marijuana play in all this? When cannabis was legalized in 2012, it came with high hopes: regulation, tax revenue, job creation. And yes, Colorado has seen billions in cannabis sales. However, for some vulnerable individuals, legal marijuana has become a gateway not to harder drugs in the traditional sense, but to a life marked by constant numbness, detachment, and social alienation. The streets of downtown Denver now tell a different story. Outreach workers speak of users who combine fentanyl with cannabis to dull physical pain and emotional trauma. Is this the future we envisioned when discussing progressive drug policies? Or have we traded one form of criminalization for another kind of silent decay? While drug policy reform has its benefits, the fentanyl crisis reminds us that public health must take precedence, not profit or politics. The housing crisis, the core cause of homelessness in Colorado. While addiction, unemployment, and mental illness all play significant roles in the rise of homelessness, there is one underlying factor that ties them all together: the lack of affordable housing. In Colorado, the housing crisis isn't just a secondary issue. It is the very root cause of why thousands of individuals have ended up on the streets. And unlike sudden economic shocks, this crisis has been brewing gradually, year after year. Between 2020 and 2024, average rent prices across Colorado increased by over 32%, according to the Colorado Housing and Finance Authority. In Denver alone, the median monthly rent in 2025 exceeds $2,250, making it one of the most expensive cities in the interior United States. This amount is far beyond the reach of anyone earning minimum wage or depending on disability assistance. Meanwhile, the availability of affordable units has plummeted. For every 100 extremely low-income renters in Colorado, only 29 affordable and available units are available, according to the National Low-Income Housing Coalition's 2024 report. The shortage is especially dire in urban centers, but it's starting to extend into suburbs and smaller towns, creating widespread pressure. As a result, shelters and transitional housing programs have been overwhelmed. Waitlists have expanded from weeks to months. Families, including working parents with children, are now living in cars, extended stay motels, or camping in open spaces. What happens when a full-time worker can't afford to live in the city where they work? And how does someone rebuild their life if they can't even secure stable housing? Colorado's housing shortage is not just a problem of supply, it is a structural failure. And within the broader narrative of homelessness in America, it exposes an uncomfortable truth. Even those who follow the rules can still find themselves on the outside, looking in. COVID-19, the crisis that left many homeless for good. For many Coloradans, the COVID-19 pandemic was more than a health emergency. It was a devastating economic and social blow that permanently altered the trajectory of their lives. What started as a temporary lockdown quickly evolved into a long-term crisis for those already living paycheck to paycheck. For thousands, it became the final blow that left them without a home. During the peak of the pandemic, Colorado lost over 375,000 jobs in just a matter of weeks, according to data from the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment. Industries like hospitality, food service, and tourism, which employed a significant number of low-wage workers, were hit hardest. As businesses closed, hours were cut, and shifts vanished. So did the stability that had kept many people housed. Eviction moratoriums provided temporary relief, but they were never permanent solutions. As protections expired in late 2021 and early 2022, landlords began pursuing back rent through the courts. Many tenants who hadn't been able to catch up simply couldn't hold on. As a result, evictions surged, especially in Denver County, where filings more than doubled compared to pre-pandemic levels. Meanwhile, homeless shelters were forced to reduce capacity to comply with social distancing guidelines. Outreach teams scaled back services, mobile clinics were limited, and transitional housing programs paused new intakes. For those already grappling with mental illness, addiction, or unemployment, the loss of access to support systems only deepened their isolation. How do you recover when the systems designed to help you are closed, reduced, or overwhelmed? For many in Colorado, the answer is you don't. You simply adapt to life on the streets. This is one of the lesser-known stories in the broader narrative of homelessness in America. COVID-19 didn't just expose existing flaws. It fractured lives that were already hanging by a thread, and in doing so, it created a new class of unhoused individuals, those who never thought they'd end up here. What is the government doing to tackle the homelessness crisis? As homelessness continues to rise across Colorado, state and local governments have launched numerous initiatives aimed at containment, support, and prevention. However, despite the large number of programs and funding behind them, the results remain inconsistent and, for many, deeply disappointing. In Denver, city officials have spent over $250 million between 2020 and 2024 on housing and homelessness-related services. Much of this funding has been directed toward programs like safe outdoor spaces, designated tent areas with sanitation and security, as well as supportive housing projects that include on-site case management. Meanwhile, the state of Colorado created the Office of Homeless Initiatives in 2022 to better coordinate efforts across cities and counties. But critics argue that bureaucratic fragmentation still slows progress. This fragmentation leaves unhoused individuals to navigate a complex system on their own. Perhaps the biggest challenge is the slow pace of implementation. Even when projects are approved, it can take 2 to 5 years to break ground. In that time, hundreds more people may lose their homes. So the question remains, Is the government moving quickly enough to address the urgent needs on the streets? And are the right people guiding the policies? There are certainly signs of good intentions: pilot programs, increased funding, and public-private partnerships. But for those who sleep on sidewalks or inside overcrowded shelters, these efforts often feel too slow and too small. Within the broader national context of homelessness in America, Colorado serves as a telling example. Well-funded, well-meaning, but still falling short. Until systemic barriers are removed and solutions are measured not in paperwork, but in lives changed, the gap between policy and reality will only continue to widen. A personal reflection on the homelessness crisis in Colorado. I no longer believe this is just a housing crisis or a budget issue. It's a moral failure. When you walk through downtown Denver and see a man sleeping on cardboard beside a Tesla, something is fundamentally broken. When mothers raise their children in tents while luxury condos rise beside them, that's not just inequality, it's institutionalized indifference. We can't call ourselves a civilized society if we allow people to freeze in the dark while we debate zoning codes. We can't justify spending billions on sports stadiums while emergency shelters turn people away every night. The system isn't slow, it's unwilling. The solutions aren't unavailable, they're inconvenient to those in power. I've seen enough to say this plainly. Homelessness in Colorado is no longer a symptom, it's a consequence. And if we, the public, continue to accept the unacceptable, we are part of the reason it persists. In the larger context of homelessness in America, this isn't just a problem for Colorado, it's a reflection, and it's time we stop looking away. Conclusion. Colorado, with its breathtaking peaks and vibrant cities, was never meant to look like this. Yet here we are, facing a crisis that can no longer be dismissed as someone else's burden. The rise in homelessness is not a natural disaster. It's the result of policy decisions, broken systems, and years of turning a blind eye. Homelessness in America has become more than just a term. It's a warning. It reminds us that no one is immune. All it takes is a missed paycheck, a medical emergency, or a rent hike that's too steep to overcome. And in that moment, the line between us and them disappears. This video was never just about statistics or city budgets. It was about dignity. It was about the simple belief that everyone deserves a place to feel safe, warm, and human. If that's too much to ask in a country as wealthy as this, then perhaps we've lost more than just housing. We've lost our sense of community. The next time you see someone living on the street, don't ask what they did to get there. Ask what we didn't do to keep them from falling. Now, see you in our next video.